anyhow, I ran off to get a newspaper, and I went to the local shops there in a panicked state, asking them, give me a newspaper, and they didn't understand why I wanted a newspaper, and I must have looked like a crazy person in there, trying to cut open like the bundles they've just got in, and I managed to, but there was nothing about Benedetta in there. So I remembered, there was a newspaper next to where I was sitting earlier on. So I ran back there and I found the paper and opened the page, and there was a big picture of Benedetta looking back at me, saying missing.
Oh, wow. You know, it's interesting because I think there must have been a lot of denial happening, that you were in a lot of denial before then, because to not even think that that she could have been amongst the tragedies and in the trains and the bus.
Totally. That's the human way of being, isn't it?
All right. Well, the music is telling us we need to take another break. We will be back soon for the rest of this story. My guest, Raj Babbra, his documentary, Life Without Benedetta. And you can see how painful that was and is. You're listening to Dr. Carole's Couch, and I'm your psychiatrist host, Dr. Carole Lieberman.
Welcome back to Dr. Carole's Couch. If you have a question or comment for Dr. Carole, dial toll-free at 1-866-472-5788. Now back to the show. Here's Dr. Carole Lieberman.
And welcome back to Dr. Carole's Couch. I'm your psychiatrist host, Dr. Carole Lieberman, talking with Raj Babbra, the reluctant filmmaker of Life Without Benedetta. So you left us off at the moment where it all hit you. Her smiling face broke through your denial once and for all.
Yeah. The result of that, seeing that, was so big a shock that I just went quiet for a long time. I had to be taken home. By the time I got home, I started having thoughts I'm going to contact the family, got in contact. Cutting a long story short, I met up with her dad the following day, who'd flown over from Rome, and I met her boyfriend, who was looking in London for her. We spent the next, I think it was 9 days, looking for her. However, I managed to make some of my own inquiries and spoke with a lady who was in charge of an operation through the police, who unofficially told me on the Monday that it's very likely she's one of the people who was killed in the bombing, and to expect her not to have survived. The sad thing about that as well is that was the 11th of July, which was actually our anniversary day.
Oh, God.
Which was heartbreaking as well. So we, on the 16th, we got the total confirmation that she was killed. The biggest fear in my mind was if she suffered. I still don't have the answer to that, but just from the injuries and what we've been told, it likely she didn't, because the injuries were massive on her. That she had a closed coffin funeral, and her parents were advised as well not to see her and just remember the way she was, because apparently she was unrecognisable. So,
no, that's so sad.
It's very sad. She was 30 by now at that point. So I went through the next couple of years feeling very depressed. I put on lots of weight during that period, in the region of about, I think you work in pounds, isn't it? 14 times 3 pounds, about 40 odd pounds I put on during that period, the next 2 years, just because I couldn't be bothered to do anything now. And it was towards the end of last year, though, when things started to change. I started to really pull my life back together. I went on a diet. I started really doing positive things and getting my life back together, till the point this year in March when I went on a course which was to make a community project to help a community and to get them involved in something and actually make a difference within that community. It could be anything. It could be any community you wanted. It could be small, but they would advise and keep it on a small scale of maximum 200 people. I decided to help the 7/7 community by, which took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do, but it was to make a tribute to Benedetta and show the meaning of life, the loss of life through 7/7, and bring about the reality of what's happened from 7/7. But the problem was I didn't have any experience of making a film. How to do it, no film budget, no film crew, nothing that was going to help me do this. But the thing that made it even more difficult was this had to be ready to screen on 7/7. That was, so I had 3 months to do the whole thing. I met a lady called Rabia Boushiba, who's a documentary film director. I met her through a guy on the course who was my coach on the actual course. It was a friend of hers. So he told her what I was doing, and she was absolutely thrilled, and she really wanted to get involved. However, my ideas were all over the place on how to do this. I had no clue. So I said to her, whatever you decide is the best way of doing this, we'll do it your way. So she sat down with me and went over my life story with Benedetta, the same way we've kind of done on this show. And from that, she started writing a script, which we worked on together. She would send it to each other, adjust things, and back and forth. However, what we still needed was a cameraman, a sound engineer, a film editor, and a studio to actually cut this all together. So Rabia coincidentally managed to get in contact with some guys who lived in Norwich, which is where Benedetta was living, and coincidentally was just around the corner from where she was living. And Norwich is like, 200 miles away from London. So they knew nothing about it being Benedetta. What I also forgot to tell you, the bombing which Benedetta died in was at Aldgate, which is where she used to work in her first job. But anyway, we got these guys, George Leader and James Phillips. They have a company called Gentleman's Agreement. What Rabia, George and James all understood was that there was no money to be made out of this. This was all about just making a project that's going to make a difference. So we started working together on filming what the script that Rabia and I had put together. Once we filmed around London and we were in the course of doing all that, we realised we also need to be going to Italy, because some vital parts of this are going to be in Italy to show Benedetta's life over there. So in 2 weeks, I done some really heavy fundraising, just talking to people I know about what we were making and asking them to donate. And within 2 weeks, we'd raised £2,000, which was enough to get us around to Italy and do everything we needed. So we flew over all together and filmed around where she grew up, her tomb, met her family over there, interviewed them. And what was happening was that people who weren't even interested in helping with this project, such as people in 7/7, the families and survivors who were reluctant to do anything in front of the camera, started realising what we were making. And we started getting people come forward who wanted to now help us. So it's taken people from just going into their little shells and not participating into suddenly coming out and saying, yeah, we want to get involved. So we started interviewing other people, and what I started realising with this story was that we were making something so unique, and as far as I could see, it's nothing that's ever been made before. It's nothing political. It was just about the experience of losing a loved one in 7/7 or surviving it, just what it's like to be in that and to understand the effects of terrorism with no political angle to it. So we managed to